So today we'll be talking a lot about interview prep, like, what are the different kinds of interviews, what is the expectations, and not just for LLD, interviews in general, how to tackle different kinds of interviews, what should be the thought process, and tips around that based on my experiences so far. See, at least say for a DSA question or see, every interview is firstly different. DSA is different, HLD is different, LLD is different. And for those of you who have experience in the industry, you will know that interviews are very, very specific to interviewers, right? Like it is not just for the company. Like let's understand, suppose I am working in Amazon. I might interview in a completely different way. My expectations from the same question might be completely different than my colleagues. Like both of us are working in Amazon itself, but my expectations will be different and his or her expectation will be different, right? So main point about any interview is to firstly try to understand what the interviewer is expecting. And you have to be extremely communicative. You cannot go like, interviewer should have asked me this if he or she was expecting. That will never be the case. Now the competition is so much that now what you have to do is you have to understand that what is the expectation of the interviewer and you have to tackle the interview accordingly. Let me give an example. Like for example, LLD, okay, let's take LLD itself. So some interviewers might expect that, okay, you will just draw class diagrams or you will just mention the classes and you will go ahead. Versus some interviewer might expect you to talk about the relationships between the classes. Another interviewer might go like, why are you wasting time with the relationships between the classes? Just go ahead and give me working code, right? And one interviewer might not want the working code, might want to see your thought process. So every interviewer is expecting different things from you. Everyone understands this part, right? That the expectations of every interviewer is going to be different, not just of the company, not just of the particular, of the particular profile, but also of interviewer. So you have to understand what your interviewer is expecting. And that is why you have to keep asking a lot of questions. It will take you literally 5-6 seconds to just mention something that I'm assuming this or I am going like this. Is that okay? Just keep asking, I'm doing this. Is this okay? What is the expectation? And you have to get the vibe of the interviewer. See, some interviewers would want to speak a lot and might want to interrupt or might want to guide you. And some interviewers, what might happen is that they might want they don't speak anything, you only do entire thing and they will just give you the rating. Like you might understand, right? Like suppose you're in a meeting. Now, some of you might be like, I want to talk. I want to be part of the discussion because you are my teammate. And the interviewer might get offended if you're not letting him or her speak. Like if you're interviewing me and if I keep speaking and I don't let you speak, that is again not a good thing. And also, if I am just letting you speak and I am not speaking anything, I am not directing my interview, that also might not be a good thing. So I know it sounds like, how do we even tackle these situations? Because it is very, very different kind of people, right? So that is why there are various tactics how you can do it. Firstly, you have to sound smart and confident, not overconfident, confident. Like, let me give you an example of DSA. Because DSA has specific answers. There is right and wrong. At least in system design, there is no right and wrong. In LLD, HLD, you cannot go extremely wrong, and that is very good thing about it. When it comes to DSA, you will have to sound smart, but also confident, but not overconfident, even if you're not getting things. Like, for example, you have a question and you cannot understand that, what topic is it from? Is it from trees? Is it from crafts? Is it from any other topic? You have no idea. Is it from binary search? So have a checklist in your head that what are the possible topics. There are hardly 5 or 6 topics, right? There's window sliding technique, there's binary search, there's trees, there's crafts, and keep communicating with an interviewer. That now I am trying to, okay, I'm not sure what would be like over here, but because the input is like this, maybe we can form a tree or a graph out of this. Because it is like this, but now I don't think tree and graph would work. So now I'm thinking of binary search. So what will happen is, because you're talking like this, firstly, your interviewer is getting to see your thought process, that how you're considering different data structures, how you're considering different algorithms. And there's a high probability that your interviewer will stop you and will actually help you out over there. You have to show your thought process. Even if you're stuck, you cannot be quiet at all. You cannot be quiet. You have to keep communicating with the interviewer. It is extremely important. Like for LLD, now in LLD, there are 2 types. There are like three types of mainly interviews that let's talk about them. One, okay, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. Yes. So there are essentially 3-4 types of interviews. So one would be when you are expected to say discuss LLD on whiteboard. Say you are doing it offline, then you are actually given the marker or the chalk and you're actually supposed to write it over there. So in this case, if you're on whiteboard, obviously you will be drawing the UML diagram properly. And obviously you cannot be coding because you are on whiteboard, right? You will not be coding the entire thing. So your major focus should be on UML. You should be discussing what? You should be discussing the relationships between the classes properly. And what all things will be there inside the classes? How are you structuring it? What design patterns can you think of? Now see, in such a scenario, when you are not supposed to write code, okay, when you're not supposed to write code, you can be smart and you can suggest more design patterns. Now, you know that, you are not, they are not going to ask you to write code. So in these cases, you can actually suggest that, if it's a big system, you can use complex design patterns like say builder or prototype or template or things like that, that normally you might not be able to write code for, or while you're coding in a smaller problem, you might not be able to do. When you know you are not expected to write code, you can discuss more things. You have more, there's more possibility of discussion than writing the code over there. Like you can mention that way, I can use command design pattern, I can use this, I can use that. Now, another type of interview is when you're supposed to write code, but in code, now there are two types. Okay. One is when there's a very broad system. Like for example, say Swiggy, Zomato, or say Uber, Ola. Now, in this case, you will need a lot of time for requirements. And how will you structure your interview is what we have to discuss. So say if it is a 1-hour interview, at least 10 minutes you need to drill down to the specific module that you'll be designing. Like for example, in Swiggy, Zomato, or Uber, Ola, you have so many things, right? You have login, you have notifications, you have payment, you have these are very common things. Login, then there's logging and monitoring. There are multiple things like this. So there are some common features that you can black box. Now in Swiggy, Zomato itself, there are so many things. There are restaurants, there is search, there is placing the order, there are a lot of things. So what you have to do is you have to first note down all the requirements, and then you have to pin down to the exact module that they're expecting you to write code for. Okay, you obviously cannot write code for the entire Swiggy, Zomato, or entire Uber, Ola, correct? But if you're expected to write code, and that is usually the case, usually type 2 is the most common case, then type 3. This hardly happens, that LLD interviews happening on whiteboard. It hardly happens, but it does happen. So in this case, like at least 10 minutes for requirements, say another 20 minutes for discussion of say UML and classes and relationships and all of those discussions you will have. And next 30 minutes, at least one module code you have to make it running. And this is very doable. Like 10 minutes, just ask that, okay, these are the different scenarios. Out of this, what exactly do you want me to focus on? Then 20 minutes, talk about the classes, about the UML. Don't end up spending entire 45 minutes or 50 minutes on this, because what is going to happen is that you ended up talking a lot about the UML and classes and all of this. But in the end, when the interview gets over, your interviewer has nothing to rate you on. It is a low-level system design round. And low-level system design round is also called a machine coding round. So 99% your interviewers are going to expect you to write running code, something that you're able to demo. And now I'll also talk about how you can be smart and you can, know that what part to code and what part to be smart and not to code, like how to black box things out. We'll talk about that as well. But in this 30 minutes also, by the way, remember that last 10 minutes or last 5 minutes at least, keep it for testing or for asking things that, okay, have you basically sort of a revision, you can say, that you are showing that these were the requirements and I have actually talked about all of them. So that even if you have anything missing, you cover it in the end. Because what happens a lot of times, we get lost in the discussion in UML, in writing the code and all of this. We get lost, and sometimes we forget a very important part. That is why writing down requirements is extremely important. Extremely important. Like in any interview, if you see the elevator system design that I have done on my channel, that was like 3 years ago with Gaurav. That was the first LLD interview I ever faced. Okay. One very classic mistake that I did was that I did not write down the requirements. So this part, just remember, for any interview, like for LLD or HLD or whatever it is, like even for DSA, if you're making any assumptions, if your interviewer is telling you this is what, write it down. It has two benefits. One benefit is that after your interview is over, what interviewers do is that they go back and refer it. So they will also refer it. And next thing, that after you are done, like in the end, for testing or for revision purposes, it is very useful. Because in the last 5 to 10 minutes, always what you should be doing is you should be going back and you should be seeing that, okay, these were the requirements that you wanted me to fulfill and I have done that. And you are actually playing with the other's mind. Think about it. If you are the interviewer, always think from the perspective of an interviewer. If you are the interviewer and your candidate, what the candidate does is that in the end, he or she goes back to the requirements and talks, see that you wanted me to talk about this, I've talked about this, I've talked about this, I've talked about this, I've talked about this. So your interviewer will start feeling that, yeah, you have talked about most of the things. So even if your interviewer got lost in between, or even if your interviewer went like, I have no idea what you were talking about, at least in the end, you are doing sort of a revision for him or her. Make sense? Till here, make sense what I'm talking about? Does it sound like, why am I talking about all this, or does it, like, is it good? Atul is asking which pen am I using. So I'm using iPad. So this is an iPad pencil, but you will be using online whiteboard all the time. So you'll be typing. So in HLD, actually, I did this. So one of the whole end-to-end system design I did on online whiteboard to show that it is possible to do it online. And I am planning to do that next week also. For one of the system designs, we'll do the entire thing on online whiteboard. So you will understand that it is possible. Okay, cool. So I already talked about broad systems like Swiggy, Zomato. Then there are systems, say like Elevator, or say chess, or tic-tac-toe. Like these questions, you don't have to spend so much time on requirements, correct? You don't have to spend so much time on requirements because you more or less know what happens in chess, what happens in Elevator, what happens in tic-tac-toe. Elevator, maybe you might need a bit more requirement, but chess and tic-tac-toe, you hardly need any requirements, right? So you have to understand that on the basis of the question. Here, if someone is asking you to code chess, they want to see running code. They are not relying on the discussion, on requirements, nothing happening. If your code is not running in the end, then it is not a good interview. As simple as that. Okay. So what do you have to do? Over here, how you would structure your interview, say 5 minutes for your requirements quickly. In case of Elevator, maybe 7-8 minutes. In case of chess, tic-tac-toe, even 3-4 minutes is enough. And then you move ahead to classes. And then because, okay, electricity went, but net will keep working, so don't worry. So then you can keep talking about classes. And in the end, so when you're testing your code, you need to spend more time on the code, right? So code, you could probably say do for 35 minutes or 40 minutes. Here you were doing for 30 minutes. Here you can do for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, like that. So you have to be smart about it, that depending on your interview, depending on the question that is being asked, what is the expectation? How much time would you have to spend on, say, requirements? How much time do you want to spend on coding? How much time do you want to spend on UML? So you have to have that communication with the interviewer, and you have to be smart about it. You have to understand that this will work out in this interview, or this will not work out in this interview. Yep. Make sense till here, more or less? Yep. Okay. I'm going to pick up questions. Tanmay is asking, in chess or tic-tac-toe, do we need to write the moves algo? Good point. See, now when you're coding, there are a bunch of things that you can black box. right? For example, yesterday you saw me talking about a lot of strategies or algorithms for elevator movement or for elevator selection and for all of this, right? So there are different algorithms or strategies. But am I expected to write those 4-5 strategies? No. But if that was not the expectation, and if I was working on only one algorithm, I would have to ask my interviewer, do you expect me to write the algo? Ask. You have to ask. Because, see, a lot of times these days, LLD again is combined with DSA. Like for my Atlassian interview, this is what happened. There was no dedicated DSA round or dedicated LLD round. It was combined. So there was LLD plus DSA round. So I had to say apply one design pattern. I applied 2 design patterns, but I also used an unordered map and a tree actually. So what happened was that I talked about the algo and I quickly talked about it and I showed it, okay, this is how it will work. And I talked about one basic factory and one basic singleton. I talked about these 2 things. So this much I had done in 1 hour interview and it is possible easily. Okay. So, okay, someone is asking me the question in Atlassian. I will actually share. So there were 2-3 questions. I think there were 2 interviews as far as I remember. I don't remember clearly. One was around trees and maps. So it was around voting system, that how would you vote? How would you store these voting systems and how would you do that? So to store all of that, I had kept like a tree so that it is also sorted internally, and also kept a map so that I can refer to it. And I had used design pattern to create the voting system or something like that I had done. Okay. So yes, this was one question. Another question that I had faced was, I'm not sure if it was Atlassian or another company. Another question that I had faced was online office. So you have to book seat. So there was work from home just starting at that time. So Atlassian had that thing actually, that you have to book your seats online before going to the office that you want to book. So how would you do that? Which is similar to say Book My Show or IRCTC or something like that. But in that case, how would it work is that there's a building, and inside building there are work desks, and on work desk, like there are numbers. So you can book your desk, say for half a day, for full day, for some hours. And then not just desk, you have to book, say, meeting rooms and all of that. So yes. Yes, so Piyush is asking about tackling concurrency. So tomorrow when we talk about IRCTC and when we go to more complex systems, we'll have to talk about multi-threading and all of that also. We haven't discussed so far, we just discussed in singleton, right? That how would you do it? Cool. Will they accept IDE in LLD interview? See, so most of the companies, they won't actually run the code. Like they won't run the code, but they will expect you to write it such that it is runnable. They will say, okay, mail it to me or something like that.
Sorry.
Okay. So some companies, they will give you ID, or some will say ki you choose the ID. Some will say you write it on Google Docs or something like that. So it's again very company specific. So I won't say that always this will happen. So you have to be like used to it, especially to online whiteboards. Please get used to online whiteboards. Use any one online whiteboard. Either it is for LLD or for HLD. For both of them, you will have to talk about like, your class diagram or your HLD, high level system design diagram on a whiteboard. So please get used to at least any one whiteboard. Get used to using Google Docs. If needed, you should be able to use it. Be used to using different IDs. So if needed, you can do that. Yep. Okay. Someone is asking, code we write during interview is not best solution, but someone is expecting considering time, space, complexity. See, for DSA, you have to give the most optimized solution. But for say, if it is machine coding round for LLD plus DSA, you can say that these are the possible solutions, but because of time constant, I'm using the solution and all of that. Like in elevator, you saw me returning just one or just a particular floor number, or I just did mod 2 and I returned 1 or 2, right? You can do such things. That's what I'm talking about, that you don't have to focus so much on the algorithm. Like, for example, we'll be talking about chess. Now, chess has so many types of pieces, right? So there is, say, there is a rook, there is a knight, there is a king, there is a queen. Now, there are different checks for queen, for king, for bishop, for all of them. There are different checks. Are you expected to put check for all of them? No, you cannot do that in 1 hour. It is just not possible. So be communicative and say that, probably just show it in one and then just show that, okay, this is how it will happen. Paris is saying, Kirti with HLD, LLD, DSA went to know to stop interview prep. Okay. See, firstly, you have to maintain a balance between the three. All three are important, especially for interviews. First, you clear DSA in most of the companies, then you clear LLD, and then you clear HLD. That is usually how it happens in most of the companies. So you have to maintain a balance. See, HLD and LLD are topics that once your basics are clear, I feel you can, once say you have taken my course, now you will need only 1 day for revision, according to me. Okay. I don't think you will need more than that, because you have invested enough time in preparing and understanding the concepts and all of that. 1 day of proper dedicated, say max 2 days, max a weekend, that is all you will need. For DSA, what happens is that you need proper practice. You need to actually write down the code. Otherwise, you will go blank over there. Okay. For LLD, 1 day before, just try writing 2-3 design patterns, basic ones, singleton, and say, a factory or abstract factory or things like that. Strategy. These basic ones will help you in the interview. But in DSA, you have to have good enough practice so that you don't forget it. See, I've worked with almost every YouTuber that you can think of, every teacher that you can think of in software development, right? Not one of them are confident about DSA. Like, even the ones who teach DSA will, even if I'm doing a mock interview, I'm not saying they're not confident. They're not confident on the fly. Like, I cannot go like, today you interview and they will come and interview. They will need at least 2 days, 3 days, 1 week to practice. Yes, even the names that you're mentioning on the chat, even them, even the most famous playlist that you can think of, even for that topic, if I'm interviewing them, they will say that I need 1 week to practice and come back, or 1 week to, do something, because most of us get out of touch because we don't apply DSA in daily work, right? So don't be hard on yourself if you're not able to do DSA. You have to practice, you have to do. Yes, no one is superhuman. Cool. Another point, I know now I'm going to sound very, bad or something, but this is extremely important point according to me. We have to sell ourselves in an interview, and that is the truth. Okay. You might be awesome, excellent in your daily work. You might have excellent technical knowledge in your daily work. Unless you're able to show it off in an interview, it is not going to get you the job, right? So you have to be smart about it. You have to basically try to show off as much as possible. Now, how many design patterns did we do? We did 18 design patterns, correct? I keep seeing this question a lot, that out of these 18, how do I even remember that what to use, how to use in design pattern and all of that? See, the truth is that these 18 are very good for, say, your daily work, for your knowledge, to be able to show off to anyone, to get context at how to, apply design patterns. But the main point is that you should know solid principles. And when working in daily work, you should be able to identify that, oh, this is the problem to solve. And then while working, you can just open the UML online, you can refer to it and you can write, correct? In terms of interview, there are just 4 or 5 very common design patterns that you need to know, that you need to practice, so that you can show it off. And what kind of design pattern should you pick in interview? The design pattern, firstly, that has small code, so you can write it down properly in, say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, right? Then it should be easy to understand. It should be very, applicable in many systems. So it is not like you pick up something like Builder. Even if you know Builder, for a demo code, Builder doesn't make sense. Command design pattern doesn't make sense in a lot of places until you are making a full-fledged system, until you're really working. Yes. So what you have to do is you have to be smart about it. Yes. So now my question is that, according to you, what are the common, out of these 18, what are the most important design patterns for interviews? Can you mention? I can see someone has already mentioned singleton. Yes.
Factory.
Yes. What else?
Strategy, design pattern.
Yep.
Questlet.
Observer.
Template, I would say. Observer template.
I wouldn't say template because
State.
maybe facade. Yes. What is?
Bridge.
Bridge and all, I don't think. See, bridge, template, all of these, no, these are more applicable in big systems. In demo systems, you will hardly. Decorator is there, but if you think about it, it is very specific keys. Like I have never used it in an interview so far. Like I never had to. Like see, these
Prototype.
prototype again for big systems, I would say. More or less any interview system, any system that you give me, I can usually apply at least two design patterns of these.
Adapter design pattern.
Adapter, yes, common, easy to use. Again, you give me any system. Builder, to definitely not. See, the point is that you give me any system, I should be able to use at least two of these design patterns. Singleton I can use everywhere, no? One facade I will keep, facade and singleton I will combine it. Oh, sorry. One facade or singleton I will combine it and I will keep, right? Like there will be one manager that I will want, only one DB instance I will want, only one logger instance I will want, right? So I can use that singleton plus facade. Factory for creational, observer I can use, say, for notifications for all of this. Yes. Iterator, template, proxy, composite, all of these are good design patterns. I'm not saying that these are not good. Decorator, very important. Yes, all of these are important. But according to me, just pick up 4 or 5 design patterns that you're very, very comfortable with. Be ready for interviews that if given, you can code them out in say 5 to 10 minutes. That is the point. Yes. Any other questions you have related to interviews? Now is the time to ask in chat. No, yes.
Yeah. Do we also talk about the data flow in the LLD interview, like how the data will flow across the application?
Not across, like obviously not high level, but low level, you have to talk about how the request will go. Like yesterday in elevator, we talked about that the request will come to what was it? Elevator system. Then it will go to request processor. Request processor will send it to, say there are external request processor, internal request processor. It will go to elevator manager. Then it will go to elevator. Then elevator will do this. Like that, right? We talked about it. Similarly, you have to give the flow that this is how your request is flowing. Who is actually fulfilling the request. All of these things you have to talk about.
So is the UML expected then, Kirti?
So when you talk about UML in interview, you will not be expected to write the detailed UML that I show, right? That is mostly used in work. But at least if you are, in an interview, how you can write is, I would have written like this, that there is elevator system. Now, there is, say, elevator manager. Just these things. And what is, say, the most important thing? If the most important thing is request, what are the most important things? Then I will write that, okay, there is a map. I'll just write the map that there is an ID and then there are elevators. And then from over here, I will write one elevator. And usually what will happen is whiteboard, you will not get those arrows also, that this or those arrows you won't find. So what you do is just write over here, that composition or aggregation. Again, the point is that once the interview is over, after that, when your interviewer comes back and looks at the whiteboard, is able to see that, okay, what were the classes and did you talk about the relationships? So mention it somewhere. Just mention that, okay, this is the interface. So I've written I, or I've written this to mention that this is an interface. It will take you take you max 5 minutes to just mention the names of the classes. You don't even have to make the boxes. Just mention names like this.
लाइक हम ऐसे बता सकते हैं कि जैसे कंट्रोलर में क्या हो रहा है, सर्विस लेयर में ऐसे कुछ, कंट्रोलर से स्टार्टिंग में और फिर सर्विस लेयर, फिर डाउ लेयर में ऐसा चल रहा है.
So he is, I'll just translate into English also. So he is saying that, can we mention that there is separate things going on, say service layer, DAO layer and things like that. So you can do that, but especially for LLD, when you're talking about code, you should talk about key request hit which class. Then which class did what? What was the data that was being sent? Now this class has access to what data? This class has access to what data? Something like that. Make sense? Yes? Okay. I think more or less...
Kitty, one question.
Mhm. Oh, sorry, I muted the wrong person. Go on. Sorry, Vaishali. Vaishali?
Kirti, maybe. So, let's say,
Hello. Oh,
Yeah, tell
yeah,
me.
please go on.
yeah. So, I just wanted to ask, like, let's say if a
Can't hear you, Ankush. Lost you.
does it, I mean, yeah, let's say a person having more than 10 years of experience. So, mostly interview will be covered on the high level design or the maybe the coding and then LLD also it will be covered, but not that much part.
See, it depends on the role that you're applying for. If you're applying for, say, architect role and all because you have 10 years of experience, right? Then HLD is the major focus. But most of the times nowadays, LLD happens like for everyone, for freshers also, and for 10 years of experience also. The only thing is that the expectation is different. Like from freshers, they won't expect you to use design patterns. They'll expect you to write modular code, okay, good classes, good objects properly. For someone with 1 to 2 years of experience, they'll expect everything end to end properly. 10 years, obviously, again, the expectation is that you should be able to write code. But if you have been, say, an architect or a manager and you have not been in touch with the coding, then it is fine. They're sort of lenient because you are not doing coding in your daily work. What happens for someone, say, 1 to 4 or 5 years of experience, their actually work is implementing LLD in their daily work, right? So the expectation becomes that because you're doing it, you should be able to do this really well, right? For freshers, they're lenient. For 0 to 1 years of experience, they're lenient. More than 5 years of experience, they understand that, okay, this is not your daily work. You are more of a manager or an architect, but you should have an overall idea that what is happening. Obviously, you should have your basics clear, right? Because you are the one who is reviewing the code. It is okay if you're not able to write up to that level because you're not in touch with it. But for someone with 1 to 5 years of experience, it is extremely important to be able to write running code properly.
Okay.
Someone is asking, do we need to code in single files? See, now the thing is that there are, again, the kinds of interviews, right? So there are sometimes those typical 1 hour interviews, no? That obviously will write in one file only. Now, there are also interviews where they will give you a project and they will say that they will probably give you a system and they will say project or system and they will give you, say, 3 hours or 2 hours, or they'll give you, say, 1 day or 1 week. Then you have to structure it properly because you have the time. Now you have to make separate classes and do it accordingly, right? So yes. Okay, guys, I think more or less we have an idea about how to tackle interviews, right? So Ian is asking, suppose we don't know a certain game or topic asked, how to go about it? Can we tell we are not familiar with the topic, or should we ask them to explain the functionality more? That's a good question, Sohini. So that is why requirement analysis is extremely important, and that is what we are going to be discussing next. So, like for example, Zerodha, right? Requirement analysis or gathering. Now, Zerodha is a system that most of us have no idea about, right? Like until you have read about it, you would have no idea about how Zerodha works. So how would you deal with that? We'll talk about it. Sachin is saying, Kirti, today I had an interview of first type, the whiteboard. What would be the expectation and time spent on different parts? I was completely lost in discussion and did not know what should be a good outcome of the interview. Say, if it is on whiteboard, this kind, right? This is the kind that you're talking about. So they're not expecting you to write the code, right? They're expecting you to do everything online. So the entire discussion will revolve around, if it is LLD, it will be around classes, the relationship between the classes. So for every class, how basically I talked about, no? So when we talked about elevator, this is what we did yesterday, remember? We did not use any tool, any code, nothing was there. But what did so on your whiteboard, you could have written something like that, okay, this is my main. Now elevator system, these are the things that are going to be there. Then you could have talked about that, okay, there is one class, elevator system. Then there's another class, elevator manager. Then these are the enums. Now in this class, what are the common methods? In this class, what are the common methods? What is the relationship like between this class and between this class? Then what is the relationship between elevator and this? So basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to show your entire code on whiteboard. UML is extremely important in that sense, because what you are doing is UML itself, you are able to communicate that how your code is going to look, what will be the classes, what will be the data members, what will be the functions. Even you can mention that, okay, it is minus, okay, private. This is plus, okay, public. This protected. You can show off your knowledge. You know about UML, right? So this is how you can handle such an interview. Make sense?
Yeah. So Kirti, one more question here. Let's say for a 1 or 2 hour interview, when we structure our classes, should we also take care at package level, right? Somebody in the chat also asked, like, structure our classes into models, controller, service, and repository, or should package not be cared about?
Honestly, in 1 to 2 hours, like especially in 1 hour interview, will not get the time. You can, like, I would suggest to, like, you can go ahead and write everything in one class, but it is always good again to just quickly ask this, that just mention that actually there will be different modules, like there will be a controller, there will be a model class, there'll be a like this. Just mention that, okay, there's a DAO layer like this. And then ask that, is it okay that for now I write the entire code in one class, in one file, and 99.99999% your interview is going to say yes, go ahead. It's fine.
Okay.
You
Okay,
can just say that this is how I would have structured ideally, but because it's an interview, there's time constant. Is it okay if I do this? And or just say, I am doing this. Is it okay? Just something like that. And there's a high chance our interviewer will say okay, but also you are being smart and you have already communicated that usually you wouldn't do like this, and you have showed that you are thinking about it, but you are also smart and you're managing your time properly. See, even if you impress your interviewer very well, no, even if you talk about 100 things, sometimes what happens, say I'm in an Amazon interview or any company which is very particular about their interview processes, say Uber. Now, what will happen in some big companies, there will be a committee that sits together. Now, that committee would want to see probably in the end that what code you wrote, or so it happens in some companies that what was the design that you made, or sometimes it has happened with me, like this has also happened, that candidate, like I as a candidate said that I did better than the feedback that you gave me. So they will consult with another interviewer and they will actually show the design that I made or the code that I wrote. And they will actually show, and accordingly, you can actually say, you can suppose the feedback came that I did not make my design properly. I can say that I did it. Like it might still be available. If you have the access to it, please check it out. Please show it to someone. I have done it properly. So you basically sort of have a proof that you can talk to your HR, or the third person who is sitting with your interviewer can also see that you have mentioned all of this. You have mentioned the classes, you have mentioned the data members, you have mentioned the relationships and all of that. Yes, Atul is saying, Lagna chahiye work kiya. That means you have to show it. You just don't have to speak it out, you have to show it. So always you have to note down that, okay, these are the requirements. I am testing now. Now these are the classes. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. So always mention these things. Okay. Now, quickly, yeah.
Like a small doubt. Actually, it might be a bit like particular case. Like if someone is coming from a front end background and going towards full stack and trying to apply for that, like what is the expectation in terms of LLD if he is coming from 1 to 2 years of experience? First doubt is that, and the second doubt is like if like I have coded more in CPP in DSA, but I'm not finding that very much friendly in LLD, and finding Java I'm understanding it better, or I'm like able to implement it better. Should I like switch to Java for DSA then too, since you are saying that both of the rounds get combined most of the time? So like what should be the case?
See, firstly, like if you're applying for an LLD round, no matter which background you're from, the expectation is sort of similar. You can mention that I am from a front-end background and that is why I'm coding in a particular way or something like that. But the expectation is same because they are hiring for a role. It doesn't matter from which role you're coming forward. The point is that are you suitable for the role or not? So most of the cases, they won't care that what background you have, but are you suitable for the role? That is the point that they are trying to solve, right? So you have to be competent enough. Like, it is not like, think of it like this. So I am a non-CS student. Do I get different questions like than CS people? No, I get asked the same questions. I have to know them, right? So think of it like this. And coming forward to C++, Java, I honestly don't get it. Like, I am from C++ background, but during the entire course, I was also able to write the code in Java, and I have done it in my daily work also many times. The only difference is in syntax and the way, like, say, memory management happens. Like, you use smart pointers in C++, in Java, there's no, like, you don't have to worry about memory management. There are packages and all of this. But whatever language you are comfortable in, I would say pick one language for any one interview. Usually it doesn't matter, but some companies are very specific. Like, let me tell you. So in Intuit, I don't know if I've told you earlier, but in Intuit, I had a C++ specific round because they were hiring for C++ only. So if I do all my rounds in C++, obviously it is more impressive than if I do it in Java. So again, for the company that you're applying for, ask the interviewer. Like, companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Atlassian, they never cared which language I am using. Even Uber, for that matter, none of them cared which language am I coding in. They said whichever you are comfortable with. So if you are in a DSA round, code in that language. If you are in an LLD round, if you think it's a combination round, you can code in any language you like. Or ask the interviewer that, do you have any specific, preference? Most of your interview will like, do whatever you are more comfortable with. So you'll be able to do that. Someone is asking, share your Amazon London interview experience. So I did not have specific rounds for interview London because my Amazon London, because my Amazon India rounds only went so well. They came back to me, they said that you can just come to London, you don't have to interview. So I did not have any separate interviews for London. But okay, cool. I had not even applied for London. They only reached out. Cool. Okay. Coming back to this. Now, since we have covered most of the theory part, let's talk about what all things are there in LLD in general. So what is the first thing that we start with? We start with requirements. Yes. In requirements, what is the first question that we begin with? What is the first question? Actors. Very good. So who are the actors or who are the users? What is the next thing that we do after requirements? What is the next thing we do after? Yes, sequence, flow, or activity. So sequence of events or say activity that is going to happen. For that actor, what is the particular sequence of event that is going to happen? We'll discuss this in detail. After requirements, what is the next thing you can talk about? And there are also activity diagrams and all that, but usually that's not expected. Okay. After requirements, what is the next thing that you can talk about? What is actors? Actors basically, so you can say, think of users. Like in elevator, we talked about there is a user, there is an admin. Like for Swiggy, there is, say, delivery partner, there is the person who is ordering, then there is restaurant owner. For Uber, there is the driver, there is the rider, then there is, say, admin on the system, right? Okay. After requirements, what is the next thing that you can talk about? Classes and attributes. Very good. So you can probably talk about UML and classes, attributes. Right? After this, what is the, like, you will talk about, yes, class diagram. Very good. What is the next thing? You have to keep in mind while doing all of this, you have to keep in mind solid principles. It is not like you are going to say that I am applying solid principles, but during discussion, if at any time it comes that either this or this, what is the trade-off, or why have you decided this? Always mention, if I think from solid principles perspective, I am thinking that OCP will be followed over here. So like SRP will be followed over here. That is why I'm thinking in this sense. And yes, after that, design patterns will make your life a lot easier because you already know them. And when you use design patterns, you're automatically applying solid principles. So yes, then after that, you will get to the code. And if you're done with the code and if it is expected, you will probably have to talk about algo or DSA. Okay. And once you're done with all this, probably test cases or say testing, any unit testing or revision or whatever has to be done, like end-to-end flow. So this is majorly what LLD is about. Yep. Make sense? Guys, awake, no? Awake? Everyone awake?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
After
Now,
that, we also deploy in local and test.
yes, but in interviews you won't, but yes, in dev, yes, you would. Yep. So deploy. This is like in work. You can say. Yes, cool. Okay. Now coming down, let's do quick requirement gathering. How does it usually happen? Requirement gathering or analysis. Let's start with, say, Swiggy, Zomato. Okay. Now you are in an interview and someone comes and says that you have to design Swiggy or Zomato. How would you even get started? Because this is a huge system and you have 1 hour and you have to write a running code. How would you actually get started? A lot of people start freaking out at what do we do, right? So yes, Pratik is saying we'll talk about the users. So who are the possible users in Swiggy, Zomato? Who are the possible users?
End user, then
And the customer.
So there is client, then there is
Restaurant owner.
admin,
there's delivery partner, there is restaurant owner. Then say there is admin or system. Like in Swiggy, Zomato, there's hardly admin, but you can say system, right? Cool. Okay. Now over here, they can also be like for this, like just for thinking purposes, like say support and all of that, but you don't need to go into so much detail also. Just restaurant owner, delivery partner, and client is good enough. Okay. So now let's talk about the sequence of events. Say, for example, you're talking about delivery partner, right? So for delivery partner, what are the sequence of events? Or, okay, let's start from client, this simplest one. For client, what is the sequence of events? How do we start?
An order is placed, then like the restaurant is told that the order is placed, and then once the order is prepared, a delivery partner is assigned to it.
Again,
So that is
what was my question? My question was sequence of events for client. I can see Love and Paris have already answered. See, what is the first thing will the client do? Will the client directly place an order? The client will first search. You have to start thinking from the client perspective. If you are the one who is using Swiggy, Zomato, what is the first thing you would do? In browse also, just not just search, because you are doing requirement analysis. You have to mention. Now, search can be on the basis of, say, cuisine. It can be on the basis of, say, restaurant. It can be on the basis of dish. It can be, say, on the basis of location, nearest restaurants. Correct? So you have to be able to mention like this, so that once you mention all the requirements, you can drill down that, okay, these are the things you expect me to do. These are the things you don't expect me to do. You should be able to think like that. That, okay, I've searched based on these things. Now, after search, what happens?
Question here. Should we talk about client sign up and profile creation, OTP creation, all that stuff here?
So good point. So now these things, usually there are some common things that are going to be for multiple, say, actors, right? So I was about to come to that afterwards, but okay, let me just cover it now. So there will be some common things for all actors and for most of the systems. So you can just say that these things I am not going to talk about. Like, for example, login, logging, or monitoring. Okay, then you can say, probably say notifications. What are the other common things that are there? Say login, some people will say onboarding, authentication or authorization, yes, all of this. So you can skip these things. You can just say that, I'm ignoring that because 1 hour time. You can, or you can just mention it and you can go like, okay, not doing this. This is not important for the system. What is, again, the crux of the system? Like in design patterns, everywhere we were talking about the crux of the system. What problem are we trying to solve? In every system, you should talk about what is the main problem that you're trying to solve. If suppose if someone is asking you to work on Swiggy, Zomato, and imagine you spend half an hour talking about, say, payment. Payment is again a common module, right? Payment or login or notifications. That would definitely not be the expectation of the interview, correct? So you have to focus on the most important part of the system, right? So searching you did. Now after searching, what is the next thing?
Add item to cart.
Adding to the cart.
So basically select and add to cart. Yes. What else?
Checkout.
Payment checkout. Yes. Then what else? What else does client do?
Tracking.
Very good.
Tracking.
So these are the common things that client does. Okay. See, now what will happen is that in the interview, suppose you were given to design for Swiggy Zomato. First thing you asked, what actor am I deciding for? So if it was client, you like this will take how long? Max 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Now from this, you will go like, okay, these are the things that I'm supposed to design for. But okay, there will be some common things that they are expecting. Like suppose they're expecting end-to-end thing. So you will have to just like talk about multiple actors. So we'll talk about that also. What is the other actor other than client? Other actor?
Delivery
Vendors,
partner, restaurant.
Rider.
So let's talk about delivery partner. What all things does delivery partner do?
Accept order.
Accept the order.
And then what does it do?
Process the order. With
After
the
accepting it, it goes to restaurant, right? Arrives at restaurant.
Pick up.
so I mean,
Pick up the parcel.
Wait for
it will depend, right? Here, delivery partner is a single person who has been assigned by the Zomato Swiggy, or it's an entire firm. So should we talk about that?
Why should we talk about
So
it?
there
We're
will be
talking
one
about-
more step, right? Assigning a delivery person here.
So that is not what delivery partner is doing. We are talking about what delivery partner is doing. The actor is doing what all things. That will be systems job. That assigning delivery partner and all of this and that. That is systems job.
Got it.
Right? So that is system. This we're talking about what all things does delivery partner do, so that we don't miss anything. So first we
Accept-
accept order, then we go to restaurant.
accept preparing food with their teammates.
So basically there is first arrive, then say there is pickup, right? After pickup, say on the way. So these statuses delivery partner only updates, right? So this is basically status. Yes, Pratik is saying correct. Change status, right? Then after that, what is there? Then obviously it will reach or it will deliver.
Sorry, Kirti, I have one question. Delivery partner will change the order status, or
System.
it will be changed by, no, I think restaurant will change the order status, right?
See, there are multiple statuses. What are the status of the order? The status of the order can be, say, accepted. Then it will be preparing. So this preparing, who will update? The restaurant owner will update. Then after that, it will say ready. So who will update? Restaurant owner will update. But pick up, who will update? Who is picking up? Delivery partner. Who is the actor? That delivery partner will do, right? Then arrived, who will update that your order has arrived? That also delivery partner has arrived. No. So like for every change of status, so there are multiple people who are changing the status. Now this is again, like if you see the Swiggy Zomato video on the channel, these are very important things because see for the notification, if you see observer, I had applied observer over there. So if this is like say status of the order, now your delivery partner can also change the status, a restaurant owner can also change. Suppose your system can also change, right?
Yeah.
But now every time when the order is changed, your user should be notified. Say your delivery partner should be notified. Your restaurant owner should be notified. Your system should be notified. Suppose there is some logging, all of that should be notified. Now, suppose your user wants SMS or user wants say email, but user says that I don't want Telegram message. Or delivery partner says I want WhatsApp, I want email, I don't want SMS. So basically every actor can say that I want this kind of notification, I don't want this kind of notification. I want this kind of notification, I don't want this kind of notification. So this is very, very interesting problem that you can solve, right? So I'm basically triggering the thought process that how would you think when there are multiple actors involved, when there's so much to do? Like for example, if you're talking about restaurant owner, what all things does restaurant owner do?
Accept the order.
Accept.
If it is suited, like if it is a good amount, then he will accept. If he has
List. First thing he'll do is list his menu. He will be listing.
Create his vendor profile,
Yep.
list menu.
Exactly. First thing we do is add menu, right? And in menu, again, you will discuss what you will talk about. What is a dish? Then you will talk about, is pizza a dish? Like, is pizza from Pizza Hut and pizza from Domino's? We had discussed about this, right? That is it same dish or is it different dishes? What does a dish mean? So every menu will have a price for a dish. Then obviously, what is the cuisine? Maybe you can have different menus for, say, lunch, dinner. So what are the different menus in cuisine? Suppose there is veg, non-veg. Suppose you have Chinese and Italian and South Indian, all of that together.
Also, what can be taken as an add-on and what can be added as a dish?
Yes. So add-ons. I can see you have watched the video, I think. Then also probably status like preparing, is ready, all of that, right? Except there's also one very important thing that delivery partner and restaurant owner can do. Can anyone come up with it?
Marketing.
Cancel the order.
Delivery partner can also do and restaurant owner can also do.
Specific instructions.
One very important thing that you guys are missing.
Canceling the order maybe.
Okay, canceling the order, but that user can also do, restaurant owner can also do. There's one more very important thing.
Kirti, should restaurant owners be able to track the sales for a day or for a week or month?
Yep. That should be able to happen. There's one very, very important thing. I don't know how you guys are missing it. There's also availability. Like your delivery partner, your drivers in Uber, Ola, your restaurants can set, right, that I am available from this time to this time, or I can say that I am not available right now.
Okay, 24/7, like service बेचने के लिए बता रहा हूँ. So it's the best in the town.
So basically, what time are you available? So if you must have seen, like, I don't know how many have seen this, that delivery partners actually can set that I am available. Say, you must have seen, no, drivers, like if they are working on Uber and they will set themselves not available on Ola, then they will go on Ola, then they will set themselves not available in Uber or something like that. So you can do things like that, right? And similarly for restaurants also, that we are getting too many orders, I want to say not available, or my chef is on leave, or I want to go on a holiday, I will say that I am not available, right? Something like that. Yep. And also another thing that I saw, another common thing, rating. Now rating can be of all the, it can be of client also, it can be a delivery partner also, it can be of restaurant owner also. See, again, my main point is that you have to think from the user's perspective. If someone is asking you to design Swiggy Zomato, you have to first ask who is the actor. Then think from the actor's perspective. Talk about the most important thing. So if say they are saying key system, you have to design the system for, say, placing the order, right? So now system will obviously talk about key, okay, order is coming. So, client made the request. Then you will talk in this way, that there is a client made request to my system. Then what all things I have to do? I have to assign delivery partners. I will probably send notification to multiple delivery partners. One of them will accept. Then I will update the status. So basically status updation will happen. Then after that, also delivery is happening parallelly. There's another system that I will go to the correct restaurant, and I will tell you that you need to start preparing. So there are two things that are happening. One is delivery and there's restaurant. So there are two subsystems that you have to take care of, right? So then you will ask that you want me to talk about the restaurant part or you want me to talk about the delivery part. Mostly your interviewer will choose one. But suppose if they choose two, you will say that you will black box. What will you do? You will do something like, okay, send notification to delivery partner. Once they accept, I will do this. I will call this method. You can black box how the notifications are being sent, how they are accepting, and how all that is happening is like their responsibility. You can black box and just talk about the entire flow. Versus if they ask you to go in detail about the delivery in detail, then you will go like, okay, I have a system. Now there will be multiple delivery partners who will get notified. You will probably talk about that, okay, suppose I will notify 4. If none of them pick up, I will probably do a window sliding, or I will do some algorithm, and then one of them will accept. Once they accept, I will update in my DB. Something like that. This is more of HLD, but yes, you get the point. That depending on what is the interviewer expecting. Are they expecting you to talk about delivery? Are they expecting you to talk about restaurant? Or are they expecting you to talk about general things like notifications, payments? Are they expecting you to talk about, restaurant? What are they expecting you to talk about? Yes. Delivery partners assign only when restaurant accepts. Yes. So you should talk about these requirements, that what will happen, then what will happen, then what will happen. Paris is asking me to repeat. What part do you want me to repeat, Paris?
I think you were mentioning something about sliding window. What were we implementing?
Forget it.
You briefly mentioned something.
I just
Okay.
said that, if there are just a possible algorithm, that if there are a lot of delivery partners, if they have not accepted, then you will probably send to this set of delivery partners, next set of delivery partners. I just said a possible algorithm, but only if, it is a combination of DSA and this, then you can talk about algorithms and all of that, but not discussing right now. Cool. Okay.
How do we come to know that? Do we have to go into the details of DSA in the LLD round or not?
You
Like,
have to ask.
like
You have to ask. You have to ask that what is the expectation? Like, are you expecting me to talk about the algo also? Or like mostly say if they say it designs Swiggy, Zomato, they are not expecting you to talk about the algorithm. But if they are talking about just one subsystem, suppose the question is that tell me how the search happens in Swiggy, Zomato. If that is the question, just how the search happens, then you should ask that, should I talk about the different algorithms for search, or you want me to just black box and talk about like, okay, there are different algorithms and you want me to talk about how I would structure the classes? That would have been the question. If they're asking, if the question is just Swiggy, Zomato, then you have to drill down, right? Exactly what you're asking me to work for. But if the question is talk about search, then you have to ask, is the expectation that I talk about the algorithm or like how would I structure the classes for searching? Now you will know that what is the expectation of the interviewer. Like, for example, it can be like someone is telling me to say design Amazon. That is a huge system versus say, it can be something like key referral system on Amazon, or say, who are those called? The people who give their stuff on Amazon. Who are they called? The partners. What is the term?
Sellers.
Yes, the sellers or the partners. Seller onboarding, if you want to design that, then you will think of the seller onboarding flow and you will talk about that. Yes, vendors was the word that I was looking for. Thank you. Okay. So vendor, how will the vendor sign up? What all classes will the request go to? So depending on that, you have to be communicative with the interviewer and understand what is the expectation. We'll do quickly one more requirement analysis, and then finally we'll move on to chess system design.
Kirti, I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, can you just explain one more time the activities of system actor for Swiggy and Zomato?
So if you are designing for system, what are the common things that happen? Okay, let's talk about this. So if there is a system, right? So this is your Swiggy system. What you will do just one, you will create one class called client. You will say client will request the system. Now you are supposed to fulfill the entire thing. So you'll probably create firstly a facade that, okay, this is my Swiggy system, right? Inside this, what you will do, you will probably have, say, a manager. There will be one, say, delivery manager.
like interviewer अभी क्या check कर रहा होता है, मतलब they are expecting practical or they are expecting like only कि conceptual, क्या वो expect कर रहा होता है for LLD round?
And that's what I have been trying to say, that for LLD you have to ask what is the expectation. If it is a whiteboard round, obviously they're not expecting you to code. If it is, say, a coding round, then you have to ask, you have to drill down to the module that they're expecting. And I told you the time, right? So in this 10 minutes, you have to understand their expectations. In this 20 minutes, you have to draw the UML for the expectations. In this 30 minutes, you have to actually write the code for what they're expecting, for which module they're expecting. You have to ask. You have to ask.
So LLD round 1 hour का होता है, like is it complete?
Usually it is a 1 hour. It can also be of 2 hours, 3 hours. It can also be like a project given to you that you do this and come back in a week or something like that. Usually it is a 1 hour simple round.
सो लाइक सर्विस बेस में तो 1 घंटे में पूरा ही हो जाता है, पूरा मतलब ऑल कंप्लीट इंटरव्यू, राइट? तो इसमें कैसे लाइक अलग अलग होता है, लाइक अलग अलग स्लॉट पे या कैसे?
Did you join late क्या मतलब?
नहीं नहीं मैम, मैं ज्वाइन कर लिया था।
हाँ see
सर्विस बेस्ड में कभी नहीं होता है, मतलब मोस्टली नहीं होता है।
sorry
Like service-based companies is asking, in service-based companies, they take only one round of interview and they,
हाँ in
evaluate
service
everything.
based so yes there is no dedicated LLD. Yep. Cool. Okay. Okay, I was talking about the system. So there is delivery manager, there is restaurant manager, and suppose so now you will create one order manager, right? That okay, there is one order manager. Now you will say that okay, delivery will be managed by this, restaurants will be managed by restaurant manager. Then you ask, do you want me to focus more on the delivery part or the restaurant part, or just give the entire flow once? If that is expected, just give the flow and black box how the delivery partner is being chosen. Just create one class and forget about it. How is it working? Forget about how things are working inside, like how is the restaurant updating the status and all of that. Just give an entire flow and then say that, okay, now in the code part, what part are you expecting me to code? Suppose the interviewer tells, if it doesn't tell, then you can say, see here, I can see I have a lot of managers, so I can probably use singleton for that. So I will probably first write code for a singleton and I will do that. Then you will say that, okay, I can use different algorithms for delivery partner assignment. So maybe I can use a strategy design pattern for that. Just quickly write code for these two things and say that, okay, now there will be different classes. Just mention classes, and a bit of code inside this. Enough.
Yes.
So you have to be smart. Ki, what is the expectation? You have to keep asking. Ki, what are you expecting me to do now? What are you expecting me to do now? Like that.
So, Kirti, one question. Can you scroll a little up on the system? Yeah. So generally the system class is only going to create all the related manager objects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can we do it like in a little modular way also? Like delivery partner manager is going to.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just telling you one possible way. This code is also up on GitHub and there's a video on YouTube that is free. So you can go check it out. If you have any questions in that UML, also just ask me. I've mentioned everything, Swiggy, Zomato. So this was the design that I used in the bootcamp, in the LLD bootcamp that I did. So there we had discussed it in detail. So it is very properly mentioned. Go check it out once.
Thank you.
Ma'am, actually, I just wanted to ask one question. Like, basically, I find it difficult if I'm not aware of the system. For example, if the interviewer has given me that you have to design a game like it's a Teen Patti card game, then I won't be able to formalize the things. And second example is basically if the interviewer has asked me to design a system of matrimonial or dating website. So in case I don't know how they actually work, so in that case I would find myself in a difficult situation to formalize the requirements.
See, the thing is, even in Zerodha for that matter, so these, if it is a system that you have not seen, okay, so the requirement time will go up, right? From 10 minutes to say it will go 15 minutes. But in the starting itself, you have to mention that I've not used this, but like I am guessing that this was what is done. What can you quickly tell me what is the main purpose of the system or where is it used? And the interviewer will tell you that, okay, there is a stockbroker or in this, there are different profiles. So this is what is going to happen, right? Now, it is your responsibility to quickly note down the requirements. Even if you do not have any idea, like for example, I am working on Zerodha. I'm sure that a lot of you might not know Zerodha. So let's try Zerodha, okay? Suppose we have no idea what is Zerodha. An interviewer comes and says that we have to design Zerodha. So what they will tell that this is basically like a stockbroker. And there is an exchange over here. So there is BSE, NSE and all of that. Now what you have to do is you have to basically be able to sell and buy stocks. This is the main thing. Okay. So even though you do not know that what is happening, you know that, okay, sell and buying is happening. Now you should be asking questions like that, okay, who does the buying and selling? Is it the BSc NSC, or is it me who has to assign the seller and the buyer? Then the interview will tell you that actually BSc NSC does it. So then I will ask, okay, so basically then in that case, I'm just passing the request to BSc NSC. Is that correct? Your interview will say yes, but there are things that I have to also do in Zerodha. So we'll ask you, okay, what are the things that we have to do? Then probably they will tell that there's something like, watch list. And so we will ask you, what is watch list? They will tell ki there is basically the list of stocks, like your favorite stocks that you have added. So now in this case, okay, I have to keep a list of stocks. So you note it down somewhere that you have to keep a list of stocks. Okay. Then you are saying that, okay, so now in buy and sell, can you quickly tell me that what are the things that are being passed? That in buy and sell, what are the things that are being passed? So your interviewer will tell you that you can send quantity. And these things actually you can start guessing also, that there is quantity, there is rate. This you can guess, right? That you will sell this much quantity, you will sell at this rate. Then you can ask, if I am mentioning quantity and rate for selling, what else do I mention? Are there any kinds of stocks, or what is there? Sorry, I have no idea about stocks. Can you please tell me? Right? Then they will tell you, okay, this is there, this is there. The expectation in LLD interview is not that you know all the systems. The expectation is that you do not freak out. You are confident and you gather the requirements properly. You ask them properly that, okay, what are the main things that happen in this system? What are the main actors who all use this system? Who am I designing for? So suppose they say you're designing for customer. So then you will ask, is it okay if I don't talk about login, about logging, about notifications and all of that? Or do you want me to talk about that also? Probably your interviewer can go like, because you do not know about the core system, why don't you just talk about notifications or payment or something like that? But if they say, no, talk about this system only, then what you will do? You will say, okay, can you tell me what are the things that customer does? First thing, login. Okay, we're not talking about that. Then we can buy, then we can sell. What are the things that we pass in buy and sell? We can mention like this and we can go ahead. Okay. So you have to not freak out firstly. You have to gather the information as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Yes. And mock interviews are very good for all of this. You get used to it. I wanted to do Uber Ola requirement gathering also, but let's do at 11. Can we quickly discuss chess system design for now? It's not a huge thing, but wanted to cover it once. I think a lot of things I have already covered, right? Feeling okay, feeling more confident, or confused? How will I do? Guys, more people awake in the chat section, please. Come on. You guys already know so much. Yes, more people. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with chess. So now the question is, okay, you have to design chess is the question that I've given to you. How would you start? How would you start?
What are the actors interacting with this chess system? Will it be online or?
Good. First question should be, is it online, or are we just making a desktop system, or like, app, or maybe, is it like particular, or is it like online, right? Now in actors, obviously there are, the users, then they can also be admin, like for example, someone, but I don't think there's more of any other actors over here, right? Is there any
yeah, we need to ask, right, whether we should allow user versus computer, or it's just user versus user.
Good question. So the games, are they going to be, so basically your players, is it going to be all human, or they can be, say, computer versus human? So that can be a question, right? What else? What other question can you ask? What other question can you ask?
The format of the chess, say it's like time-based, or is it like the normal chess pattern?
Correct.
It's different, right?
Point-based like that.
Yep.
Yeah, point. How to assign the points?
Very good. How do we assign the points? See, now there are different tournaments also. There are types of tournaments.
How do we match players?
Yeah, how to match players. So if it is especially happening online, how do you match players? Good point. Now in tournaments, you can say probably ask, so okay, there is one say time-based and something else like this you can ask, right? So algos to match using rating, yeah. So rating and all of that. How would you say ranking? So there's a lot of things that are happening. Set difficulty level, okay. So basically, I guess more or less chess is easier, right? Over here than everybody.
इसके थ्रू जा रहे हैं
Sorry? Okay, I guess that was by mistake. Cool. So, okay, let's start from our client. Someone had told me that I should make a client. I should make a system yesterday. I think Mani had told me. So this is what I'm doing. So there's a client. Our client is playing. So this entire thing is what? This is our system. Chess system. Okay. Now this client sends a request or says, start playing the game. Where will the request go to?
A request handler?
Game controller.
So you can call it anything.
Yeah,
You can call it, say, request handler. I am calling it game system or chess system for now. Basically, all the requests that are going to come from, say, another class client, they are going to come and hit this chess system class. Yes? And then from chess system, what is going to happen is that the request will go somewhere. Now let's talk about how is our main going to look. We wrote a lot of pages today. Give me one sec. Here,
Main
how
should
is
be
that?
8 by 8 grid.
So in our main, firstly, what is going to happen is we are going to create a game. We are just saying that create a game. Now inside this, what a system has to do is that they will create a board for us. Yes? We are just saying create a game. Now when we say create a game, the system is creating the board. Everyone agrees to this? The client should not know about the board and all, right?
Yeah.
So chess system comes to know that create a game. So there is, say, another class, which is game. Now there is another class, which is board. Now what is the relationship between the game and the board?
Game has board.
Composition.
Has a, so agree by composition
Part
and
of.
aggregation.
Part of.
Composition.
Why composition and not aggregation?
Because it doesn't make
Because
sense to have
board
a
will
board
not
equal
exist
to
in
a game.
the game.
So board instance will only exist for a game.
one board will be there.
So board instance will exist for a game. Very good. So everyone agrees that, okay, this is, okay.
It's debatable, right? If I want to give user history of the game or the board.
It is
Okay,
still
it's
history of a
history
game.
of the game. Yeah, got it.
It is, yeah. Cool. Okay. What else will game have? So it has board. What else does it have?
Players.
Players.
So there are players. How many players do we have?
2.
Okay. Another thing that I think we have missed talking about earlier, I think it was a miss from my end, is that in UML, no, you can also mention the multiplicity. So what happens that here, if I have, say, players, okay, when you mention like this, you will see that when I mention the relationship, you will see that it will mention 1 and 2. So this means that for every game, there will be 2 players. You will see a lot of multiplicity like this. So for if these are the 2 classes, it can be any relationship. It can be aggregation, composition. It can be simple using whatever relationship you want. It can be shown that, okay, is it 1-to-1 relationship? Is it 1-to-many is shown by an asterisk, that 1-to-many relationship. Or even if it is, say, say a range. For example, you want to go like, there is a game, say, some particular game.
Ludo.
Okay. So Ludo
2 to
can have
4.
1 to 4 players, right? So
2
it
to
will
4.
be something like that. 2 to 4. Okay, so 2 to 4, correct. So 2 to 4 players. So you can mention over here only. So from your UML, etc., you will come to know what is the multiplicity. right? So you will show something like this, that either 1 to 1 or 1 to many, or you can show 0 to many, or you can show something like this, that 3 to any number. So basically minimum 3 is what you're trying to show. So there are different ways of mentioning multiplicity also in the UML. And you will see this being mentioned in like daily work.
This multiplicity should be shown for aggregation, for hazard and for association as well.
See, usually you don't need to show it because, like, there are some typical cases, like game and player is a typical case, right? Where you should show, where there is a one-to-one relationship. Like yesterday, the relationship that we saw, elevator system and elevator manager. I feel that was a one-to-one relationship. So I could have mentioned over there that it's a one-to-one relationship. You don't need to always mention it, but if there's a typical case that, okay, this is the range or this is how it will be, then mention it like that.
Sorry, my question was actually, is this for all kind of relationship? We mention it. Okay.
Okay, what will be the relationship between game and player?
Has the player has composition.
1 to many.
Game has player.
Game has player, but composition or aggregation?
Composition.
Aggregation. Aggregation.
Aggregation.
Aggregation. Player
You
can
guys
exist.
decide, aggregation or composition?
For this particular game, we can say composition. Otherwise, we can say
Composition,
aggregation.
isn't it? Because otherwise these
Aggregation,
players are
otherwise.
not going to be used any other game. This player is used only for this game, so composition.
It
This
will
player
again
exists
depend on
only
the
for-
system, right?
One second. This player exists only for this game. Is that correct? One
Yeah.
player can play many games, no?
But
a
are we
user-
creating separate player instances for separate
No.
games, or are we using the same player
So
instance?
that should be the question. So according to me, it should be aggregation. Like, let me tell you why. So when do
Because-
you create a player? When the player onboards, when you're going to log in, sign up, you're going to create a player. Yes?
Then in that
It
case,
exists.
should the player creation be under system?
Yes. So it should be under the system. So see, your player, it is not going to be every time you create a game, you're going to create different players.
Oh,
If
got it,
that is
got
the
it.
way, if that is you want to do that, okay, they don't sign up and they want to do it, then you will say that, okay, it is composition. But there are hardly any systems where it is like that, no, that anyone can come and play and you create the player. If you want it to be like that, like anonymous or something like that, then you can do. Usually what happens is that in games, people sign up, right? So if you have signed up, like suppose it's a chess application, you will come and sign up. So you are a player, even though you have played no games, correct? And then you play a game, okay, the game ended, then you can play another game, then you can play another game. So the player is existing even without the game. The entire life cycle is not dependent on the game. But if you're designing a system where, you don't sign up, when you play a game, only then you're creating two players. And once the game is over, the player is deleted. And then when you come and play next game, again, player is created, then it will be composition. So again, depends on the requirements. You have to ask this to your interviewer. Yes? Make sense?
One quick question here. Remember the example of bike and car and production assembly that we took while we were designing the bridge? Can't we have here that player and player is playing a game? So playing a game is basically implementation and player is your abstraction. So the way I'd like to think about is that player is calling game that give me a game, and player is also talking to tournament if we create another class for tournament going ahead. So it's like player isn't an association with the game, not an aggregation.
Can there be many implementations of the game, first of all? So if you're saying different tournaments, there can be different
So I think players should be directly calling the whole game system, and game system will be trying to create the games and all.
Something like
Not
that.
directly the player creating them.
So yeah, player will queue for a match, right? Then there will be matchmaking and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
player does not directly interact with the game except for the fact wherein he has to view his game history. So it should be that player has a game is also okay, but game having a player might be different.
That's a valid
Game will have a player, yeah.
And that's a valid point according to me. See, game will have player, that is also there, right? But a player is creating the game, so player has access to the game. Player is creating the game. Actually, player is talking to the game system. The game system is the one who is matching and then creating the game.
Yeah,
So
but player also has a game history. That is like player is also
player
having a
also has
game.
a game history. You're correct. You are correct. So what we can do is, so what are you suggesting, that if there is a player,
I'm suggesting not to have an aggregation relationship, rather go with an association relationship wherein both game and players can call each other as a different entity. So basically having a game manager and a player manager by which a game can access some part of some features of players and a player can access some features of game.
okay,
Have a manager or have a wrapper, however we want to say it.
then what we can do is probably have a map or a list where we have something like that this game was played by who all players, maybe a game manager, as you were saying, right? So player 1, player 2, like this. So game
So how I am thinking is to have this map inside the player, right? And so player will have all the context of games he played. So IDs of games, and then we'll have a game map. So game would be game ID versus the game object, right? And
player has game 1 ID, game 2 ID, like this.
yeah,
Yes, this makes
exactly.
sense. But also you have to store somewhere that for this game, who are the players, right? That also you have to store.
No, so there's no one who's looking at the, so that will be like a third member wants to see a game, right? So that we're not talking for or accounting for right now. So what we are accounting for is that if I am a player, I should be able to play a game, I should be able to queue for a game, and I should be able to see my match history. So I
Yeah.
should be able to have the access to the game. But a game should only be able to have access of some specific attributes of mine. For example, my name and my rating. That's all. It shouldn't have the access to what all games did I play in my past, my game history, or my personal email ID or things like that.
So yes, it depends on the requirements. But yes, I agree that players should have game IDs that are there. So do we need this is dependent on the requirements, that if I want to keep the system where according to the game there are different players or not. So either we can keep this or we need only this, we do not need this also. This is a good point. Agreed.
Kirti, I think, see, what Tanmay is trying to say is it's more like a reporting. When player is looking at a report that which all games he had played, right?
A history, yes.
That is a history, so that's a more of a report. When we build a system, we look more at a transaction and the master. Like when I do
Really financial person, yes.
from financial background or otherwise also, we look at the master and transactions. How will that be catered? So when I
sorry.
Go ahead, Tanmay.
So I'm saying when you're talking about reporting, right? Game history is not just a report. So you should be able to see all the moves you played throughout the game.
That
So
is auditing then.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an entire, so you need the access to entire object if you talk about engineering there. Right, makes sense.
My question is, isn't this a part of a thing that we say that we should black box rather than focus on it, like when designing a system like this?
Yes, yes. So the only just to talk about the relationships. See, I am saying ki don't talk about so much detail. Just say that okay. And also, I saw one doubt that the player should not have all the have not access all the games. That is what Tanmay or Mani are saying. What they're saying is that it will be something like this. So this is our game system. Okay, I'm just making it smaller right now. So there was a game system, right? So this is one class. Right now inside this, or call it chess system, now there is a board and there is a game, right? So we said that game has board, right? So game has board, something like this. Now there are players. Now player will sort of have list of their games, that what games have they played. This makes sense. This is a good valid point. So here that is why we are keeping association, that game can access player and player will have a list of games. So both can call each other. So that is why this makes sense, no? For now, we are talking about the upper level class structure. So I think this is good.
Yeah, we can also have a wrapper of player with, so game talks to the wrapper of player and player has a game.
Why do you need a wrapper of player?
So I don't want to expose all the attributes of player to the game, right? Okay,
So
in
you can
association it will work. Yeah, okay.
so you can probably have like access level over there, but I think it is fine. Like it is not like sign up details and all, obviously not. Maybe there is some different class which player has. So like auth details or something like that you can do. You can black box that accordingly. Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Coming back to the main part of the chess. So
Can
game has
proxy pattern be used in this case? Like if you want to provide limited information,
proxy for what?
for providing limited information.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Proxy is a wrapper, no?
Proxy is, yes. So basically you are hiding all the information and you're just like, they won't come to know ki you're not talking to the actual player, but there will be also the check happening that does game has access to this information or not, something like that.
So Kirti, for the relations, like what you have drawn, it's just saying that the game has a board and then there is an association relation between the game and the player objects.
Yes. Okay, now board. Okay, let's talk about the game part, player and all. Okay, cool. But the main part in the chess is the game itself, right? So inside board, what will I do now?
Board has pieces and squares.
So board has pieces and squares. So what is the more like the bigger one?
Board has like squares and square
The
has
square.
pieces.
So board has pieces. Okay, so firstly, pieces and square is different things. So if you think about chess like this, right? So there
No,
is black and white. So each of that box, right?
I
So
am
this-
saying board has squares and square has pieces.
Correct. So this square, this is also called, say, a box, or you will see somewhere spot. So I'm calling it spot because that is usually the term that is used in chess. So, okay, so there is a spot, or you can say box or square, whatever you want to say. So board, okay, what will be the relationship between board and spot?
Composition.
Does everyone agree to this composition?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Now spot, as he said, has piece. Now what is piece? What is piece?
Piece is
Anything like kuch bhi, king,
Like
queen,
bishop,
everything.
king.
So we all can, I think, agree that the base class will be piece, and then there will be king, queen,
Yeah.
bishop,
Yeah.
rook, pawn. I think everyone can agree with this, right? There will also be, say, some common classes, so we can make them common methods, abstract methods, so we can make this interface. There will be something like, say, move, make your move. This is the start spot, this is the end spot. Or there will be, say, a check, can move, or is the move valid? Right? And there will be check that, okay, this is the start spot and this is the end spot.
I think we can make it like abstract class instead of interface.
Yes. So there will be some common things also happening inside it. Yes.
The association, right? Spot and piece.
That's what I wanted to ask. Next, what is the relationship between spot and piece?
Again, it's composition.
Association.
Association, composition, what?
Association. Is correct.
Composition.
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 Like sport has piece.
So it should be aggregation because a piece can exist even if it does not have a spot, right?
But its existence
don't know
doesn't
the-
make any sense
But
separate.
there is no use of a piece if sport is not there.
So your board should know that all these pieces which are, I don't know the term, but cancelled out from the game.
Killed or alive.
Yeah, exactly.
See, basically, there is the board is like this, right? So on this, suppose this is the white one. Now on this, there could be, say, a king standing over here. Now it might be there or it might have been killed and there's nothing over there. So spot can be empty. It is not like your king cannot exist if the spot is not there. So the entire life cycle of king dependent on the whether this box exists or not? Is it dependent on that? You can create pieces separately, right? When you're creating the board. Yes. So yes, aggregation makes sense.
But here pieces are related, spots are related to some pieces, right? It's
They
a-
are related. That is why it is hazard. That spot will have a piece. But
So
it
it's
can
But
also,
association, right?
keeping the pieces, the functions that are in there, they are of no sense if the spot doesn't exist, right? So it should be is a like no has a that is composition.
We have to
see,
keep
the
track. Huh?
methods will happen on the spots, start spot to end spot, correct? How do we identify it as aggregation or composition? Does the entire life cycle of piece depend on the spot? Like if suppose, okay, think of it like this, that I create the board and I create the spots and I create the pieces. Pieces and spots are sort of independent. My pieces die, my spots are still there, and my piece can move out of one spot to another spot. It is not dependent on one particular spot. A spot can have different pieces. Like right now, the piece that it has is say king. Tomorrow it might have queen. Then like it might have bishop. It can have something else. So the entire life cycle of a particular piece instance is not dependent on spot instance. It can keep changing. It has completely agreed that spot has piece, but does the entire life cycle depend on that or not is the question.
So that will also depend on the way we are implementing the code, right? So if I have three type of spots, black, white, and killed spot, then it will be a composition relationship. Otherwise, it will be an aggregation, right?
Usually you won't have
Yeah,
a spot,
I
but
mean,
for the sake of yes. And
Yeah,
also, which brings me to the next point. So here we talked about a game has two players. Also, what about board and spot? Is there any multiplicity involved in that?
Kirti, sorry. For the spot and piece, actually, I wanted to comment like it depends on how we are implementing that. So the relationship matter decides on basis of that, right? If we are keeping pieces as a member of spot, then it is fine that it is aggregation. But if we are keeping a map where spot and pieces are stored in a map, so there this is a kind of a association only.
Yeah, I also wanted to say
Either
that.
association or aggregation, I agree how it would be. Why I said so, I thought the confusion was between between aggregation and composition, since everyone said has a. But if you're saying it can, if I keep a map outside, it can be. But usually, don't you think a spot has a piece makes more sense? Like aggregation makes more sense than association.
Actually,
Go
I
ahead.
also wanted to add like every spot doesn't have a piece. Like it can be that the spot
It can be
doesn't have
null,
a piece.
but it will have a piece. No, like, so what you are saying is that there will be, say, a map outside that for this spot, who is the piece? That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying my spot will not have a piece as such. There will be, say, spot ID and piece ID. You could do like this, but
Generally,
what would
this way is feasible, right?
So can we say this way? See, a car cannot exist without an engine, but here the spot can exist without a piece.
No,
That's
his
a reference to
confusion is
say.
not between aggregation and composition. That he is, I think, agreeing, aggregation. His confusion is between aggregation and association. Association meaning ki why have a piece inside a spot at all? Like, because it can be, I agree that the piece inside the spot can be null also. He's saying keep it in a map. See, if we keep it in a map, a very common thing that I would have to do in chess is to get again and again that on this spot, what is the piece? On this spot, what is the piece? On this spot, what is the piece? So I think you are simply adding a map. In the end, what you're doing is ki this spot has this piece. In the end, there's a one-to-one relationship only. I feel it is okay to have like aggregation also. It is okay to have like inside a spot, there is a piece. But if you want, you can do with association and you can have a map outside. But according to me, it is just adding to the complexity. Like,
and if you have a map, how do we support an undo operation?
that is a good point. So if you have a map, how do you support an undo operation? Yes. So something like you would have to store all the moves as commands. Any design pattern that you all can think of, like where am I coming from?
Command pattern.
Command pattern.
I know the discussion is not over. Let me just talk about that also a bit. So since he brought up the point of undo redo, let's talk about that. Okay. Undo redo. Now, when I started designing, I also thought ki, command makes sense over here because we have, say, a list of moves, right? So suppose I make another class called move, and I want to store move, say, in a vector or a stack or an array or somehow, and I want to store all the moves. Suppose I'm at this move, I want to be able to undo, and then redo, right? So I want to store all the moves somewhere, right? Say in a linked list, in a list, in an array, in anything. So you are treating your move, your command as an object. So you are essentially doing the crux of command design pattern. And I have done that also. But now the tricky part over here is that if you think about command design pattern, what all things were there in command design pattern? What were the main components?
Invoker, receiver.
There is an invoker, there is a receiver. What does invoker do?
Invoker will talk to the client and actually invoke the command object.
Yes. And what will be the receiver? What will the receiver do?
Receiver will actually perform the execute of the command.
Yes. So there will be a receiver, and then they were concrete receivers, right? That sometimes this guy can receive, then no, not receiver, invoker. Like some different people can invoke or different people can receive. So basically you can create an interface and they can be multiple receivers or invokers like that, right? Over here, if we see move, right? If I have say move, who is going to say that move? Player is going to say? Yes?
Yes.
And who is going to perform the move?
Game system.
Chess
or
system, yeah.
Basically game.
Okay.
Game, yes.
Game. Okay, so game will perform, you are saying. But okay, so game has board has spots has pieces. Who is
Game is invoker
No, board
and
is the
individual
receiver.
piece
Board
is
will
receiver.
who is the receiver?
Individual
board.
piece, king, queen,
No,
bishop.
board is the receiver.
Okay,
Board is the receiver.
okay, think about it. Who is the receiver? What are we moving?
piece.
Piece is what we are actually doing. Who is performing the action?
Game.
Move class. We need a move class who will control and tracking all the.
Player. So player is
Player.
client, game is invoker, and your individual piece is receiver.
So the piece is the receiver. Here the thing is, see, always the invoker and the receiver is same only. And the command is also only one command. There's only move. It is not like you have, say, you saw, right, that there was I command, and then there were like different commands. There was command 1, there was command 2, there was command 3. Remember, we saw all of this. Here, see, all of that is not there. So you are essentially doing command design pattern, but it's not that complex. You are treating a command as an object, but you are creating a class for that. But it is not like there are many commands or there are many receivers or there are many invokers. There is one invoker, there is one command, and there is one receiver. So this is sort of a simplified version of command design pattern. But when you do it, you are essentially doing the same thing.
Quick question. We do have a lot of commands now. So for every piece, we have a different move.
There is a different move.
And all these moves have some common methods. For example, what will be, is that move allowed or not? For example, for in
Can move.
horse, can move, right?
I agree that can move and move. The algorithm is different. But is when I say command is different, the other command was save, undo, redo, open, different commands. Here, see, how we are performing, how the receiver is doing is different. Like, is it the king? Is it the queen? Is it the bishop? Is it the rook? Is different. How it is the command is being performed is different. But in the end, it is the same command, move.
Got it.
Check move. Is the move valid?
Yeah, got it.
Like actually, we will be creating a move with and passing the parameters in the constructor that we want to move a piece on this spot to this spot, and that command would be handled by the board. The board would be like responsible for swiping the pieces in the spots. So I think like a receiver should be the board and the command should be like we have to create different commands on the basis of starting and ending position.
Valid point. Okay, let's see what is going to be there inside the move class. Okay, so when we have a move class, what all things are going to be there inside a move?
Kirti, just to understand, are we just moving the piece randomly and the other function is checking if this is valid or not?
Are we
So,
moving the piece
so
random?
basically, board
I mean-
has to like verify whether the move is valid or not.
Yes.
I mean, for example, if we take pawn and just move it 4 steps, will it check this is invalid, so we can't move?
So actually, each piece has like set of like moves, valid moves, and the board would be like calling those methods on the piece, and on that basis, the board will have to decide whether the piece can move over there or not.
Okay, again, coming back to my question, first of all, what all things are there inside the move for class? A particular move.
Basically, starting and ending
Start
position.
and position.
So there is a start spot, there is end spot. What else is there?
Can move function.
Sorry?
Can move function.
But move can't decide can move.
Move can't decide can move. So
Piece.
that's inside. What else will be there? Piece, right? And also note that there are two kinds of pieces that can
The
come
player ID?
in the picture. One can be piece moved, the piece that you're moving, and there
And
can be
killed.
another piece that
Piece
you
killed.
killed, that you might kill, correct? And also which player played the move, correct? Because when you undo and all, you would have to see ki, is the same player trying to like, you will have to keep track, no? Like you also have in chess that you want to see all the moves of a player or all the moves performed by which player was it performed. You will have to do all of that also, right? So
So
move.
Kirti, one question here for undo and redo, like are we considering it in our requirement? Because like in a real chess game, there is no actual option of undoing your move, last move, right?
No, let's say if you're doing a online game or a human versus PC or system, then you can do undo redo, right?
Yes, you can.
So in real game we have also.
Yes, we have.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Kirti, why do we have piece moved? Isn't and these methods and isn't this part of the piece? This method move.
This is not a method. This is a class. So we are wrapping the command move we are treating it as an object. So this is a class. These are the attributes. This is the move. Why are we keeping it? So now when I keep an array or a list, I can keep the array of moves. So I will have, say, a current move index.
Got it.
Yes. So I can move ahead or go back. Cool. Okay.
The status of the piece, that is it moved or killed? Shouldn't that be a part of a piece and the move should have the access to that?
The status. So this is not the status. This is essentially which piece was moved and which piece was killed. So suppose, okay, think of it like this. So in an online chess, if you play, you can actually play your entire game and see what happened. So you can actually play the moves and see. So when you play the move, you should be able to see which piece is moving, which piece got killed. So in each move, which piece moved from one, say, start spot to end spot. So this is a particular move. It moved from where to where, what moved, and if you moved, what did you kill, and who is the one who is making the move. So that is the information that is there inside the class.
Castling move also can consider.
Yes, castling move is also there, but okay, let's get to it slowly, one by one. Okay, does this make
here
sense? Okay, we have. Yes.
Move class will not have any method means for to execute the move functionality. So just constructor will do the movement.
So constructor is actually not doing the movement also. Someone else. So that's why remember command design pattern. Someone else is the invoker. Someone else is the receiver. This is just a command that we are treating as an object.
Okay.
Kirti, one more question here. Like I may be wrong, but just for clarity purpose. So whenever we are undoing a move that we have done, is it not a fresh move in itself? So why do we have to like think about that? It's a undo of my last operation. Is it not like a fresh move that I have done, like keep my pawn backwards and all that?
So you can have, say, 5 undo. Then what will you do? As a system.
But then But
As a
then
system
when
that got performed. Now, how will you know ki what got performed? You only have the current status of the board, right?
okay, so it's like a special undo operation is a valid operation. Like there's a button that you're specially giving to undo your last operation.
Yes, yes. So
Play-
you can
the player don't have to like again tell whether what the last move was.
So you basically press undo, 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 and redo. So the like our system should be able to do it.
Also, if you treat your undo move as a new command, then you won't be able to, I mean, go back. So you have a time parameter, right? How do you handle that?
You have time, and also a piece got killed. How do you make it alive again?
Okay.
Yeah, so there are multiple things. Okay, cool. So we have a move. Okay, now so you guys are saying ki this thing, this is not the receiver, the piece is not the receiver. So okay, let us look at the flow. Okay, let's look at the flow at the main. What did we do? That okay, there was a game system. Now what is going to happen inside this game system? What is the request that is going to come?
Actually, system will create a move on the basis of player input, and the move command would be like sent to the board.
So basically, okay, can I just show you the code that I've written? I've not written very extensive end-to-end, but basic and undo will work, basic things will work. So let me just show it to you.
In game class, I think player is there, board is there.
You're right. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So this is essentially the simple diagram that I had made. So this is the game. There is board, there is spot. So move has a spot, move has piece, and there are different pieces. Okay, let's just quickly look at the demo of what is happening, and then I will just show you. So if you see,
Kirti, I didn't understand the UML diagram.
I will show
The
it.
one.
I'll show it. Okay, where am I? Oh, I am in elevator. Sorry, this is elevator. Okay, here I am. Cool. So see, if I run like this, so this is, see how beautifully I did so much of hard work. Can you guys see how beautiful this looks? So there is say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are the empty ones. This is how the board looks initially. Okay. So I have to enter the say start spot. So suppose I say this black pawn move from 2A to say 8A. So I will say start spot is say 2A, end spot is say 3A. See, nicely it moved. Like for example, now it is now, so earlier it was Kirti's turn, I think. Now it is Amit's turn. So Amit says, you guys decide, where should I move? What should I move from where to where? We can actually play. So suppose
B6 to B4.
B6 to B4. So where is B? B6 to B4. It can't be B6 to B4, no?
No,
Because
B7 to B5.
B7 to B6.
B5.
Right? Okay. B7 to say B5. Oh, very good. I think I have not handled the 2 wala case. Okay, let's keep it simple.
Give 3B, like number first and then.
Acha, haan, okay, sorry. Correct. Sorry. Let us do this again. So 2A to 3A, correct? I moved, it came. Then it should be
B7.
B7. Okay, so 7B.
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 To 5B.
5B. It moved. See, so nice. Okay. So basically it is like this. And now what you can do is if I press U, so if I press U, it will undo. See, it went back. So I did this also. So this is all that I did, like basic thing to show you. So now I can actually keep on moving and I can do U and do all of that. But okay, just to show you a bit of it. So I've written down different things that are possible. I've not obviously handled a lot of these things. So there can be a game controller that can have say different kinds of games, right? And also there is online, there can be different types of online tournaments, types of tournaments. So you can have a probably factory for creating different tournaments. So when you create a tournament, you can give that, okay, this game will have this check that, okay, according to the time and all of this. So it will have check like that. Then you can have player matching strategy, what algorithm you want to use. There can be different algorithms, but we have already seen strategy design pattern in multiple places. Yesterday also we saw 2 strategies, right? So more or less, okay. Then we can take care of ranking. Then we can have different chess games. This we already talked about. We can have command pattern. We already talked about these. Then there are some common things like login, payment, notifications, logging, general requirements. Yes. So I've quickly mentioned all of that also. Let's look at the main. So what happens in main is that I created 2 players. So there is player 1 and player 2. So Kirti and Amit. Then I created a game. See now what I did. So until I press Q, this will go on. So a simple thing I've just, if I press Q, it will stop. Unless it will, otherwise it will just go on. I'm not done like the judgment and all. I'm not done like who, when and all of that. I'm not done. But just basics. That you can say enter start, enter end, okay, and then you can process the move. And then once it is processed, what is going to happen is that current player is going to get changed. Now see, everywhere over here, I'm just dealing with the game. Okay, everywhere I'm dealing with the game. So the process move I gave to the game, and my game, it processed the move that, okay, this is the start, this is the end, this is the current piece and all of that. It happened. It checked whether it can move. And in the end, who moved? The current piece moved. Who did the movement? The current piece did the movement. And this moves played, this thing if you see, so this is the vector of moves. So this is basically a list of moves. So if you see the game part, okay, I think I'm going a bit fast. I'll go a bit slow. So inside game, there are 2 players. We already saw this. There is
how piece is deciding like whether he can like piece can move or not?
The piece is not deciding. Board is checking whether it can move. So if you check over here, the can move thing, so the piece is checking how. Okay, let me tell you. So suppose I say, okay, let me show you in this terminal. So if I say that black pawn should move from here to say here, that is an invalid move, right? And for every move, there is a rule that they have to follow. Like queen can only go straight, or pawn can only jump 1 or 2. The king can only move 1. The rook can move in a particular way. The bishop can move in a particular way. So you have to have the piece level check, right? So that validation is at the piece level. So you are passing the board also, you're checking, is it possible to move over here or not? Make sense?
Got it.
Okay. So now when I go inside my game, so if you go inside my game, here you can see, so I have 2 players. I have a board, I have a current player, and I have game status. What are the different game statuses? They can be not started, active, stalemate, resignation, black man, white man, and all of this. If I go back, here you can see vector of moves, so moves played and current move index. Initialize, basically, I just display the board and initialize. So if you see initialize, I think I am just setting the board inside this. Initialize, if I see so this is the constructor. I'm just creating 2 players, setting it as active, creating the new board. So when I create the new board, inside this, I am actually creating all the boxes. The boxes or the spots, same thing. I am creating all the boxes and just setting them to null. Get spot, basically you can check that, okay, for this row and this column, what is the spot? Reset, what is happening is that I'm resetting the entire thing, rook, knight, bishop, king, queen, all of this. Let me show you the piece also. So if we see the piece, inside piece, there are basic things. Is it a white piece? Also one more thing, guys. So I could have had 2 types of pieces. I could have had white piece and black piece, right? But there was no point of that. So I just kept an attribute that, is it a white piece? Is it true or false? Similarly, is the piece killed? Is it true or false? Similarly, for player, for demo purposes, I've shown you human player and computer player, but I don't think it makes sense. Like I can just keep a Boolean. Is it a human player? Is human player? It makes sense.
I think we can make more, like in terms of classes when there are chances that in future more such kind of things can come in future.
Right. Like for color, black and white, it doesn't make sense. I don't think there is like, chance of getting like more. And for player also, human and computer. So you can create different kinds of players, but do you absolutely need it? I don't think so. Like it is
There are
okay.
different colors of
Yeah.
chess.
Is it?
Like there are 4-way chesses where all 4 will have different colors.
Okay. He is a big chess player. He plays chess all the time. So yeah, he knows. I did not know this. Okay. Cool. Coming to the UML, what questions do you have regarding the UML for now? I will pick them up.
Yeah, I want to understand the relation between spot and move.
Spot
Move
and
and
move.
piece, spot and piece,
So-
all of it.
So basically my move has a spot, has start spot and end spot, right?
Mhm.
That is why I've done aggregation. So my spot will not know about the move, right? It is just a spot. It's just a box. But my move has that this is the start spot and this is the end spot. So move has two spots, basically start spot and end spot. That is why aggregation.
And what is piece killed and piece moved?
So that is also hazard, right? Piece move, piece kill.
Yes. So this is why this piece moved, piece killed. These are all data members, right? So that is why this.
Yeah, so in case a piece is killed, how the object of move would look like?
So you will just keep the piece inside this, no? That, okay, this was the piece killed.
Okay.
You're just keeping like the object over there.
Kirti,
How about other attributes like player, start spot, end spot? Those are not required for that move when the piece is killed?
What is not
When the-
required?
Yes, for example, when the piece is killed, right?
Mhm.
We are going to create a new move object. Is that right? Yeah. So in that object, you're saying we would have the reference of the piece which has been killed.
So see, not necessarily always the piece killed will be there. Like it can be null also. Like if
Yeah, no, I'm taking an example of when the piece is killed. Okay, just take that example. When the piece is killed, a new object of move will be created, and piece kill attribute would have the reference of the piece which has been killed. And how about other attributes like player, who has killed it?
player,
Is this not?
the player who played the move.
Actually,
Scroll
move must be created initially when the player has actually selected the move, not after killing the piece. The move object is created initially when the player has selected a move. I think so. Not after killing a piece.
See, when you play a move, I don't know what is the difference between after killing or before killing. When you create a move, you kill at the same time, right? When you actually perform the move, you create the move and you kill it. Or you can update the move.
So
In that
after
case, what
you,
would be the start point, end point?
Okay, so who is creating
Okay.
the move is
Okay, got it. Okay. So the piece which a player has moved, that will go
That
to
is
the
the
start
piece
point,
move.
end point. Yeah, and that would be the piece move. And the piece which got killed by the movement of the other piece, that will have the reference of piece killed. Okay.
Yes.
so
I think the piece is a abstract class, right? So okay.
And so I can make this dotted. By the way, for those who want to see how I create the UMLs, I'll just quickly show also. So here, suppose this is the arrow, right? So here you can see that I can create, suppose I want to make this composition, I can do that. And there are both the sides. So suppose on the other side, there is none, right? So I can create it like this. So I can choose. And also this dotted, I can just choose what kind of this I want. Do I want the direct one or do I want this one? Like, right? So this is Lucidchart. So I use this. You can use this or anything else. So here, if you see in this, okay, so there are options of directly adding UML ka this. So if you see over here, I think I had added. Yes. So here you can see in the elevator one that we saw yesterday, you can actually add this UML class diagram. So you can search for the shapes. Here I'm not added. I can search for the shapes. There are many kinds of shapes and I can add UML class. So if I insert this, I can create a new template and all of that. Basically, I will be able to add these classes. So it will have 3 sections. You can add the name and then the data members and the methods and all of that. So I usually use this. Yep, go on.
Kirti, comparing to the previous one, right, left one, there was an arrow that is uses, right? These arrows which are there, only arrows. What are these? This is association. Okay. Can you just maybe what is association? I forgot. Association is
Uses or access.
so aren't we accessing like move is accessing your piece, your spot? So where do I put that? This is like it is composing like comprises of.
Come back to the first class. Okay, open the notes of the first class. We I have given I think a cheat sheet. There is a basically I've given a table that okay, how do the arrows look for which? See, association is uses or can access. Aggregation composition is has a. Here move has a spot, right? It is a data member. It is not just it can access it. It is a data member inside it. So it is has a.
Okay.
I
So
think
basically,
when a
if I'm
class has a reference to some other class, then that is some kind of aggregation and composition. Instead of that, it's the class method has a parameter where or reference to another class is being passed. In that case, association is indicated.
I think you said the opposite. So if it is a data member, so here spot is the data member. So if that is the case, if it is a data member, it is has a relationship. It can be either composition or aggregation. Versus if I can just call it, okay, then it is association.
Kirti, so
call
we're
it
making
when you when you say call it, then I am saying I will not be holding its state or the data in the data, right? That is
You
what.
just call some method inside it. I can access it. I can use it like that.
Why have we used the dotted lines between piece and move?
Whenever we are dealing with interface, guys, first class, what is happening? This is an abstract class, right?
No, piece and move, I meant. Piece and move.
Piece and move. Whenever you're dealing with an abstract class, usually make it dotted. I also miss it. So if you saw, I also made it like this only initially. But I think the ideal way is that when there is interface or abstract class, you keep it dotted. That is.
So one more thing, I can see in a spot, you have a constructor with piece as a parameter. But a spot can exist without piece.
You can pass it null in the starting, yes. Correct, you can keep it like this. Yes, you're right.
Kirti, one question. So we're making a move and we're moving some piece and we're killing something. So
Not
that
necessarily killing something, but moving, yes.
No, I'm giving an example. We're killing something.
Okay.
And now that piece is killed and some new pieces on that spot. So how does that spot have new piece now? Like how is that updated?
So when we actually perform the move, so when we do the, so we update the board accordingly that this is where we want to move. Let me just show you. So if you see my game class, so inside my game, here you can see can move, and in the board I am getting the spot and I'm setting the piece. That in board for this spot, just set the piece. Now I can move this code somewhere else also. Like it is like I know this is a long function. I know I can place this better, but for now I placed it over here. So basically in my board, whatever is it, I'm just setting the piece.
As we can
Also,
see in move class, we can also have a tracking, like who is active, who is not alive in move class.
In move class, why do you want to keep that?
No, actually, previous question asked by someone some is killed or some piece is killed or some is alive, right? So how new will come? Okay, so that's why in move class tracking is there.
So you can track, or maybe in game itself, so you have all the pieces, right? So you can just see from there that okay, what all are alive. So every piece has a state. So every piece is killed. So you can probably keep a different map if you want, or you can keep it like this.
So basically that move is just a move, but when we do that get spot, that move is actually made, right? Or...
Yes.
Am I getting
Move
that?
is just like a wrapper of the command that is being run. So it just has all the information that, okay, player, spot.
But then you use the board to actually make the move, right? Something like
Yep, yep.
that. Okay.
Ma'am, where are we storing the status of the game?
Game, inside game. So game status.
Okay.
So who has the status? What, like game has game status, right?
Actually, game control कर रहा है like पूरा whole live application को. He's controlling ना.
Yep. So that is why actually I had started with writing a game controller, but then I thought it will become too complex for like a simple demo. So I did not do it. But usually they will have a game controller. I have not written the code. You can have it say you can consider it like a game manager or game controller. Basically, you have all the like a map that this was the game ID, this is the status, or this is the game reference, right? Because there are going to be multiple games.
In case of in interview, whether we are supposed to write the whole moves and like all that, because that is a pretty complex thing, I think.
Even I have not written everything. So this is just for simple demo. So you can black box all of this. You can just write that, okay, this is how my main will look, that there will be different players. There will be a game. There will be like a current player. And this is how they will have to move. The main thing is that you should be able to relate this part. That there is a board, there is a spot, there are pieces, there are different kinds of pieces. Then there is scan move, there is move, is skilled, is white. How are you able to structure it? So this is sort of a relatively simpler design pattern, right? Design pattern. I'm saying simpler system design. You have to just see that how would you structure your classes. By the way, it is 11. I just saw. I'll just and I'll let you go. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, instead of having that is white like data member, can we have an association relationship with the player of the piece and then update it accordingly?
Can, but see, there is some information that will be required a lot. Like, is it like for any movement, I will have to check, like, are you trying to kill yourself? Like, while killing, you should kill the other, like your opponent only. And this is like very common information that you would need. That is why I kept it outside. Otherwise, yeah, you can do that. Okay, guys, I think it was sort of a chill class where we talked a lot, right? So I hope you are enjoying, you're finding it useful. Let me know in the comments. Now is the time that when I want you guys to ask me a lot of questions on Discord. If interested, please post on LinkedIn, Insta. Please do sign up for DSA. After 20th, I won't be able to extend the discount code. So please sign up if interested. And if any questions, tomorrow is probably the hardest system that we'll be designing. So be prepared for that mentally. We'll be
which one?
ERCTC.
Okay.
So don't you guys check out the curriculum or what? Everything is mentioned in curriculum on site.
Yes.
Yeah. So IRCTC will be doing tomorrow. Like it will be very interesting. We'll finally talk about multi-threading. We'll talk about login, payment, a lot of things. And okay, let's just cut this short because I wanted to show up on time tomorrow. Last class of the week, please do show up. I hope it is very interesting. Again, reminder, please sign up for DSA if you find it useful. Please ask questions, be active, ask anything on Discord, whatever is there. And if you're interested, put up on LinkedIn or Insta. It would really help me out, spread the word. Yes?
मैम आपने प्राइस इंक्रीज कर दिया उसका DSA का?
नहीं किया.
उसमें GST add on हो गया इस बार.
I had to add GST. So yes, I have added GST. Now that is so people who are signing up for LLD, HLD now also, they also have to give GST. So it is not just for that. So it is GST in general for all the courses.
So when it is starting actually?
It's 6 weeks course and it's actually through December and holidays. And I'm actually wondering, are you planning on teaching through like Christmas Day also, or what is the plan?
So it is till 28th. So yes, I understand that it is through Christmas, but I also understand that many people it will get over before New Year. So yeah, I know it is 6 weeks, but last week will more be of very hard level and sort of revision of everything. So if you're coming for practice plus recordings and all are available, right? So if you're interested, at least in like first 5 weeks would also have been more than enough for this course, but I've kept it 6 weeks because I'll be doing end to end. Like I'll be starting from basics and we'll be doing very hard questions also. So last week we'll be probably doing trees plus DP or graphs plus DP. We'll be doing all of that in the last week. So that will be very, very hard questions, identifying everything together. But I think more or less we'll be done with 5 weeks. So yeah, you can make a decision accordingly.
The other question, so what are you planning on doing after DSA?
So I have one more course planned, but that is something interesting. So actually 2 more course planned, still like, trying to put it all together and come up with curriculum. So I will share it with you soon, but it is not structured properly. And also I will also be doing more batches of HLD, LLD, DSA, all of that I'll be doing. But also 2 more really interesting things I have planned.
ऑफलाइन मैम आप कर रहे हैं? ऑफलाइन का कुछ आप सोच रहे हैं अभी?
Offline, yeah, I am in Bangalore. I like some of you actually mailed me that we could do offline, but I am in Bangalore. I'm not sure how many of you will be able to come. I was thinking of conducting, say, tech meetup or a tech talk sort of thing for say 1 to 2 days in Bangalore itself, but not like till December. I think we'll probably do in January.
बैंगलोर से कहाँ से मैम? माराथली?
I stay near Sarjapur.
So for
will
the
you-
DSA,
Kirti?
you'll be doing another, if we miss last couple of weeks of the course,
Yes.
there'll be one coming up.
Mostly, if there are sufficient number of people, because in DSA there are too many courses outside. So I was not thinking of doing DSA, but then a lot of you said. So now I've trusted you and I've launched a DSA course. So until you actually come up for DSA, like if the courses don't continue, then I'll have to go back to, working full time. So if you like the courses, please support, put up LinkedIn posts, put up Insta, or just spread the word. If you genuinely like it, only then. But it will really be helpful.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any plan to create any course on microservices, designing microservices and
HLD,
data?
that only, no?
No, not actually. It should be like project specific.
Yes.
Like
So yes, that is one of the things that I am planning, like actually implementing everything that we have learned, right? Because HLD was very, very theoretical, right? That do this, do this, do this, but how do we do it in real office, in work? So that is one of the things that I'm planning.
For the DSA, just 2 questions. For the DSA, what platform will you be using? Any platform, or asking us to solve question on any platform, or is it
So
going
I
to be
am
like
not specific to any platform. We can do on LeetCode, GFG. Most of the questions that we'll be doing is available everywhere. I think LeetCode is what I'll go with.
Okay. And second question is, for the class tomorrow, you said that there will be multi-threading scenarios and all. And can you share any pre-reads for that? Because that is something that I plan to study.
Okay, take it. Now, can you please just put it up on Discord?
Yeah, sure.
मैम DSA के लिए कितने क्वेश्चंस काफी हैं लाइक प्रैक्टिस के लिए 200 300?
Okay, so for
जितने
DSA,
करो उतने कम है.
it is not about number of questions. It is about understanding the questions. Like I also did one DSA ka boot camp. That was 1 week boot camp, and trust me, I was so in 1 week those guys were able to understand recursion. Were any of you part of the boot camp? Because I actually saw people did not know recursion, and by the end of 7 weeks they were able to do good DP questions. They were able to optimize it. So it is actually about the concepts rather than the number of questions. The more you practice, the more you get it. That is there. So that is why
7 weeks.
So that is why I've kept this bigger. I've kept it 6 weeks and I've kept it 4 days a week. So basics will be clear, say in 1 or 2 days a week, but the rest of the days we'll be practicing, we'll be learning new things and all of that. So yeah.
So interview में कितने क्वेश्चंस पुट किए जाते हैं DSA से?
So in interview, usually in DSA, in say 45 minutes, 2 medium level questions, medium to hard level questions is expected, or 1 towards hard level, usually.
Will you share the details of the next courses if you are planning to launch it by the time you are finishing DSA?
Yep.
Okay.
Kirti, one
Hi.
more thing, one question. See, now with this UML diagram which we made, this is so when frameworks come into picture, like I have asked this earlier also, will the UML diagram change? Like let's say when I bring in Spring into it, so now I'm giving that service. I'm asking container to give me the object back.
Basically, see, this is a UML class diagram. So you're making classes, right? There's also a high level system diagram. In that, we talk about high level systems, right? How you're going to talk about framework is how closely you're working with it. Suppose it's like a different microservice, then it will be part of high level system design. But if you're using it in like low level system, like if your if your classes are using it, then yeah, you will mention it like
I
that.
think Spring Framework would help you in the case of creation or design pattern. Rest you have to decide whether like how to structure your code and what behavioral schemes do you want to like have so that your code is extensible. So in that case, Spring can only help you with the creation of design patterns.
So I'll just give you one example. See, what normally a product company do is they build up framework and then they leave the implementation for the, we hire like a lot of developers, software engineers from tier 2, tier 3 cities and colleges, sorry, not cities, sorry. And they're asked to just implement. So there's a framework, which is abstracting what's in the product. And whatever the business requirement comes, they are just writing the logic to it. So they don't really get into the, doing LLD, but they are just told, okay, this is the class, you extend it and then write your code. That's it.
So basically they just create a placeholder. You just have to like write implementation for different things.
Be
So
it
it's
API,
like,
I mean, that is how a product company is going to abstract things. So, I wanted to understand that part. That's what was my intent of joining this class, like the design patterns and all. And I actually asked you for sharing some, like maybe some notes or some any reference. Where can I get to know how frameworks are using a design pattern and been used in products, and what it's abstracting? Like say, I can give you an example because I have done that. Like other day we were talking about template. So Hibernate is built on template. That I know because when I was studying Hibernate, I could relate it to template, and it is template based. Same as JDBC, it's template based. So
actually many design patterns are used in designing a framework. It's not like one is specific.
Yes. I think what you're talking is very specific, and most of the people here won't find it relevant. So I understood. Like, just remind me on Discord. I'll send you some references probably.
Okay. And when we do tomorrow IRCTC, will it be like we'll be doing it from scratch? Like we don't talk about so like see, normally when a developer is asked, he's also asked to perform J2E libraries like transaction management, all that stuff. So that like
what is happening inside libraries is also code is written, right?
right.
So when we talk about LLD, that's why when I say black box something, what do I mean by black box? That someone else is taking care of it, or we don't know how this is happening. So you can black box a few things, but essentially when you're talking about LLD, you have to talk about if you were implementing this from scratch, how would you do it? So that is why we would talk about everything. Like in an LLD interview or when you come to design, like usually you can't just go like, I will just use something. You will have to say that, okay, I will black box this or I'll figure it out. How would I do it and all of this, right?
Okay.
Ma'am, can you recommend any good book regarding like writing maintainable code? Any good book that you think that like a person who is familiar with design patterns, but like he is able to also like bring that knowledge into like real coding also. So in that case, can you recommend any good book on that?
Let me see, and like I'll probably find something online also and I'll send it to you. Guys, please remind me all of this on Discord, no? Like just put it up on Discord, I'll share immediately. Okay. Please go sleep, get proper sleep. Tomorrow is like a important class, very, very important class. I hope you had a good time. If you have any questions regarding anything about you want some extra help or regarding DSA course or anything at all, please mention on Discord. There are like channels for everything. Let me know. I'm available over here. Cool.
Kirti, one thing. In the last class, you said that you are planning to give us endorsement or something on LinkedIn. So where can we share our LinkedIn profile with you?
So like firstly, participate either in the hackathon or do something. Like basically, I should know that you're not just, opening Zoom and leaving like that. Just share your code or participate in hackathon or anything of that sort and send me your LinkedIn profile. I'll endorse you. And
Okay.
also I will be sharing the certificates as well. A lot of people were requesting for that, so I'll do that as
Including bootcamp?
well. Not the bootcamp, no.
Okay.
All right. Good night, guys. Have
Good night,
fun.
man. Good night. Bye
Get
bye.
good sleep.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Good night.
Thank you, Kirti.